time, I'll call the meeting to order. Persons wishing to speak for or against any item on the sign-up sheet prior to the meeting tonight, we have a sign-up sheet over here that you sign up, and also get your agenda number on it. No, okay. All of you should have received minutes from the previous meeting. Is there any addition or deletion to those minutes? If not so, do I have a motion to approve?
I've got a, it's showing members present, Tommy Baggett on mine,
Really?
so we're gonna need to,
Not. It doesn't show me here. I was here.
Okay, Cheryl probably, she was getting ready to go on vacation, I'm sure, so we'll get that corrected.
Good, just correct that. Any other changes on it? Keith?
No, that's all I've
you got on it.
I move for approval.
All right, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Motion carries. Under announcements tonight, the county commission meeting is May 17th, 2021. We have a Board of Zoning and Appeals meeting May the 27th, 2021. Item 1 is MGB Property Management LLC, rezone 23.21 acres from AG2 to C1 on US Highway 431, Tom Austin Highway, Representative Steve Arts and Associates. Staff, you want to, before we get Steve up?
Mr. Chairman, MBG Properties is the Guptons, and what they're requesting is that we rezone this 23.2 acres commercial for them to relocate their automobile dealership, develop a shopping center along with hotels, and install their own sewage treatment facility on this property.
How about water and all of that?
Water is available. It's almost directly across the street from a 1.5 million gallon water storage tank.
Shouldn't have any water pressure problem.
I'd have a regulator problem.
And basically, it's probably the largest commercial development ever proposed in the county.
Other than this dealership, you said there's gonna be a hotel and what else?
A hotel and a shopping center.
2 restaurants.
And 2 restaurants, I believe.
Two restaurants. It shows 2 restaurants. Yeah. Did she not send y'all the concept plan?
I don't know. I got to.
Has-
You run some copies off?
Y'all want copies?
Okay,
I didn't get that.
let me get that one.
I didn't get that.
That's the concept plan they're proposing. Will include new roads, new water lines in, for the sewer facility. And later on, they plan to develop some R20 residential lots to the rear of it.
Are they gonna pay for the development of these roads and all that going into
They'd
it?
have to, yes, it's that they'd be totally responsible for all costs of developing the property. They'll be responsible for all infrastructure in the development.
Anybody have any questions about this? Comments from anyone?
I move for approval.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Under subdivisions tonight, item 2 is Norma Norma Pettis subdivision, final plat approved for 2-lot subdivision located on Tennessee Highway 256 at Glen Raven Road, represented by Chandler Surveying. Staff,
Is anybody here representing that? Norma Pettis?
I don't think so.
I didn't see Mr. Jeff Chandler in the audience. There's the surveyor on this.
You go ahead and make your comments.
Well, it's, basically, this is although it's only a 2-lot subdivision, it's another one of these subdivisions where the sanitary overflow field is off-site, rather than on the side of the lot. That requires the planning commission to grant a variance to approve the plat, but
Anybody out here?
What was the comments from the engineering department on that?
they have, he has got the engineering comments addressed, and there was a comment originally about putting in a fire abatement fee, but now, West Robertson Water Authority states that they can install a fire hydrant, so they're going to install a fire hydrant to serve it. But it does require you to grant a variance because the subsurface overflow field will be off-site for one of the lots.
Mr. Mayo, I've got a letter here that says all comments have been addressed. All that's been taken care of.
In a situation like this, what step make sure that the fire hydrant ultimately ends up being there?
Well, in order for us to get the Secretary of the Planning Commission to sign it, he's gonna have to furnish us a copy of the receipt where he has paid West Robertson to install the fire hydrant. And we will not sign the plat until he has furnished us that information.
So historically, from that point, we haven't had an issue with them actually getting installed?
No.
Okay.
They've actually installed some after the fact on flats that the fire hydrant escrow fee was
But,
paid for.
yeah,
Okay.
The old fire hydrant escrow.
Right.
If that's never done, Bob.
It'll never be signed.
if it's never done, Mr. Federman won't sign the plat.
Yeah, okay. I thought that was the way it was, but I wanted to be for sure. Any other questions or comments on this?
We hadn't normally been reviewing these if nobody's here.
Well, that's what I was gonna wonder. Are we gonna approve this without Chandler being here or the property owner?
Historically, it's been deferred if no one is here, yes.
I move we defer.
I have a motion to defer. Do I have a second? All in favor, let be known by saying aye to defer it. All opposed? Motion carries to defer it. Item 3 is Gladys B. Pool subdivision, re-subdivision of 3 lots located on Lipscomb Cemetery Road, represented by Anthony T. Bollinger. Anybody here from that?
No, they have another gentleman representing Mr. Bollinger.
I'm his son.
State your name.
Hunter Bollinger?
Hunter.
Mr. Chairman, I think everything's been addressed on this, but kind of give you an idea is that basically, there are currently 4 tracks there, and they're going to reconfigure it where it's only going to be 3, but they're going to reallocate ingress and egress easements. That was what you see as lot 1 was 3 lots, had 2 easements to it, 3 easements to it. And they're gonna be reallocated so that, one of the easements will go to what's shown as lot 2, and lot 3 will end up with actual road frontage. And lot 1 will still have 2 easements in case the owner wants to divide it at a later date.
What's the width on these easements?
30 foot.
Looks like lot 3 there, that easement is right in the elbow of that road there. Is that gonna be an issue?
Well, lot 3, that's where all the frontage for the combination of what's now lots 2 and, what's shown as lots 2 and 3, that's all the existing frontage there is now.
Hmm.
And, that's 54 feet, and, which is the minimum requirement for road frontage. But that was all the frontage is had up there, so that's why they're moving one of the easements that was going to one of the lots on what's now shown as lot 1 will now be for lot 2.
Bob, would you like to explain Mr. Mayo's comment about show minimum finished floor elevation for each lot?
Well, that, it backs up to a creek. That creek is not a map flood area, so that's technically that's not, we don't require that unless it's a map flood area.
What size creek is it?
I mean, it's a blue line stream, but it's not on a FEMA, it's not on a map FEMA stream.
Okay.
So we're not required to get an elevation certificate or a site plan on that, since it's not a FEMA designated area.
I move to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second to Mr. Henry. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item 4 has been deferred, and that takes us down to miscellaneous under work session review of solar and wind energy system. Bob, would you like to
All right.
have the
If you
floor on
remember,
that?
we've been working on a solar provision for the last several months. And we sent one to the county commission, and they tabled it, and they had some questions. We have several county commissioners with us tonight. And as we went back and did some more homework, they were correct in tabling it. Because the setbacks that we sent originally were excessive.
Do you have the 100-acre field? We pulled an arbitrary 100-acre field and looked at the 1,000-foot property line setbacks, and there was no place on the 100 acres that you could put one solar panel with a 1,000-foot setback. So we felt that they were correct. Maybe it was too aggressive.
So I have a little handout here, and I came up with basically five alternatives here. And this is basically a 60-acre tract that we did, because I didn't have any way to reproduce the
Yeah, it was too big.
100-acre. But you can see, if you look there, that's 1,000 square feet. That whole 60 acres right there, there is absolutely no place on it where you could locate it. You can see I've kind of marked the setbacks on there, and like I said that, in this particular track, and I hope I completely camouflaged it enough that nobody knows where it's at. Then I took the same site, proposed a 500-foot setback. What's that?
I'll send you that.
And as you can see, at the 500-foot setback of this 60-acre tract, roughly only 5% of the tract is left usable if you went to a 500-foot setback. Then I went to a 300-foot setback. Which improved some, but basically still used over half the site in setbacks.
What was this specific acreage chosen?
Because it was reproducible, because it was something we could reproduce, and it's something we had to draw to scale.
Bob, my question on this is, what if you had a different configuration on the lot on this? Not a lot, but a track.
What's that?
Had a different configuration of a different track.
Well, I mean, every track's gonna be a little bit different. And depending on your,
Already got that.
Yeah.
Yeah, already got that.
you already got that one? All right. Okay. That 200-foot setback, that took it to 60% of the site was used.
But we have been told that some of them are as low as 20 acres.
Yeah.
That's one of the last county commission.
Yeah. And so the final, we went to 100 feet. 100 feet is our current setback on landfill.
Yeah, we should.
Hold on, tell me what are.
Well,
I've seen the lease, when they can leave, when they're done, they can leave them on site. See that reason to make it attractive for what these companies come in. So.
Probably got to find them.
So now you have basically, I mean, basically the number, the setbacks could be limitless, you know. You could go 100 feet or 150 or, you know, so, you know, the setbacks are limited, but you know, you just can't keep creating scenarios and everything. But that gives you an idea of what the setbacks would do on basic different pieces of property. And depending on the configuration, you know, some could be worse than, it could affect some worse than others. But we did do it actually on a 100-acre site. And on that particular 100-acre site, it did take the whole site. At 1,000 feet. At 1,000 feet. It took the entire site. So, one of the things that was mentioned at the county commission was, have we talked to CTASC? Well, CTASC is not in the planning business, so they don't do this kind of work. We did contact Greater Nashville Regional Council, and they have not done anything. And basically, what you're going to find is that this is breaking ground in Tennessee.
we're setting the standards.
Yeah, this is breaking ground in Tennessee. And you go out in West Tennessee, you get away from Middle Tennessee, you get away from where there is county zoning. You get into all these communities where that have no zoning. You go in, same thing when you go into East Tennessee. You go into counties that do not have zoning. So roughly 75% of all the counties that have zoning are in the Middle Tennessee area. And basically that's kind of, so, you know, there's really no standards. A whole lot of what is proposed, I'll tell you, came from the papers published by the American Planning Association and regulations that they had pulled out, and majority of those were from the Midwest, especially Minnesota, which for some reason seems to be the solar farm capital of the right now. But there's as many different ways to do solar panels as there are. The biggest things, the important things that you want to make sure of is that you make sure that you get a coverage for a decommissioning of the site, because you can't let somebody put it in, use it for its usable life, and then walk off from it.
And on that same note, in our original proposal was 125% of the cost as a letter of credit that the county will hold to close these sites if they walk away. And we know the technology is growing by leaps and bounds, and whatever life cycle these solar farms may have, without that, they just walk away and leave it. And we don't feel like the county needs to bear that burden. We want to make the people who are installing things, just as if they were building a road, we carry the letter of credit for a road until that is completed, and that's what we will be doing on this.
Yeah.
For post-closure.
Well, one of the questions both people ask about glare. Well, if you have glare on a solar panel, it's ineffective. So solar panels you see now, there is no glare on them. Basically, the biggest issues you have to address when installing one of these systems is stormwater drainage.
And any site would have to be a site plan approval by this planning commission.
Yeah.
Before,
All right, and what y'all have drafted up, is any provisions for landscaping in?
Yes, there is a
buffer area?
perimeter buffering of the entire site.
All right, what's gonna be required in the regulations?
The same buffering that you would get for any industrial site that you, in the county.
I'm not, is that,
It's a landscape buffer.
okay, well, I mean, is it like trees? or-
Trees and shrub, combination of trees and shrubbery.
Okay,
That's same thing you'd see if you were putting in an industrial facility adjacent to
but
residential.
will not necessarily have to have a zone change.
No, this would be a special, this would go as a special exception, just like any other utility.
Have y'all saw a copy of the land lease being given to the owners, property owners?
We've seen, not
Not the
the
lease,
lease
we have
itself.
we
We've
have
seen-
seen a list of
of those.
Of those
effectively.
leased.
Well,
Signed leases.
I have saw one, and one, they're gonna leave, in that lease, they can walk away from the equipment, at any time.
And
And number two,
that's the reason
the
we
property
want
owner is waiving their legal right to a trial, but so
So that, yeah.
what y'all were trying to implement is not gonna work with the
Yes,
lease.
it will.
Yes, it will.
Will.
Why would it not? Because if you were the solar panel company,
They're gonna
you
have
are
to
the,
change your
you are
lease.
the ones that has to, you're the one that has to put the letter of credit
Yeah.
for 125% of the cost of the project.
Our regulations take precedent over the,
What's that
Contract.
You keep saying a letter of credit.
Yes.
Well, if they file bankruptcy, they have no credit.
Yes, it
That's
does.
whole, the bank carries, the bank does
Well, where are
that.
they gonna get it? If
The
they
bank-
file
the bank-
They have to post it as a percentage of it. It's not their money at that point in time, is it?
The
Right,
money's
Ms. Lane?
gonna actually be enfolded somewhere.
They
Yeah.
have to go through the loan process to get a letter of credit, and they do that before they start the project, before they can start.
And that's,
Does that have an expiration, a letter of credit?
Yes,
They
it will,
can.
and
Will.
they can,
and that's what we're gonna specify.
So we're gonna have to regulate that.
Yeah.
We're gonna have
We're
to-
gonna have to-
we'll have to regulate that just like we regulate a letter of credit for somebody developing a subdivision.
Well, what are they gonna hold for collateral on this credit? I mean,
That's
their money.
That's-
Their money.
Bankruptcy won't call, why is the bank?
That's
gonna let them-
that's between them and the bank.
they don't have collateral, the bank will have collateral to cover it.
That has to be something other than this site. Because they won't actually own the site, they're leasing it.
And it won't be.
And then when they walk off, the equipment's no good, so where's the tangible assets here for the line of credit?
The
The,
bank,
the stuff that they put on site.
Yeah.
The solar panels themselves.
That's what
They're-
I'm saying, if
they're-
they walk off after their junk.
We've still got the letter of credit to close it. That's what it is. It stays for the life of that project.
if I have a letter of credit in hand from developer A, from bank B, and developer A goes bankrupt, and the county has to go in and finish the development, we go to the bank and we say, we're calling this letter of credit, and the bank writes the county a check for that on the spot.
Which I think has only been done one time in the county. That's only been done one time for a road in the county.
Yeah.
And it-
They write, the bank has, when the bank issues you that letter of credit, that's, you can take that letter of credit to the bank.
But they've gotta be holding something that's worth
That's-
the amount of money.
That's between them and the bank.
What she's explaining is that you go in and file an application for a loan. You know, that's what this entity would do, and then the bank has got to be sure that their loan is properly collateralized.
Yeah, the county doesn't really care what the collateral is, because that's between the bank and the people, that are making asking for a letter of
Well,
credit.
that's all fine and good, till the bank says, nope, it ain't worth that, I'm not giving you the
Well,
money.
then,
No, if
then
they write a
if they
letter
don't
of
give them the
credit-
money, do that project, they don't do that project.
Yeah.
We're guaranteed with the letter. of
How long
credit.
does a letter of credit last?
That's
However long we specify it lasts.
But I'm,
They provide performance bond.
That's the same thing as the letter of credit.
I mean, is that acceptable?
Performance
And that's
bond
the
is
reason, that's the reason a lot of times, that, especially on something like this, with equipment that's gonna deteriorate, that they will have a maturity date on this letter of credit, and they have to come back every so often, like every 3, 5, 10 years, whatever it is they set out there, to renew their letter of credit. And they still have, at that point, have to make sure that the collateral they're supplying is sufficient to cover the letter of credit, or the bank won't write another letter of credit.
but then,
And then when
but
they
then,
write that letter.
then we got all that equipment sitting
There's
out there.
some counties that ask for a surety bond. I don't know what the difference is.
The words are all
Work.
interchangeable, basically.
You know more about that than me.
Yeah.
what a surety
Performance
bond
bonds,
is.
letter of credit, surety bonds, all pretty much, they're all interchangeable.
A surety bond is like an insurance policy. It is that if they go at belly up, then you collect on the insurance policy.
We're gonna make sure
Yeah.
that the county's protected.
Right.
But that's,
Hypothetical, a 5-year letter of credit. They go in and they set their equipment up. They go to the bank 5 years later, and the bank says, we're not gonna give you another.
then we call, at that point, we
That's what
call
the letter of
that
credit.
letter of credit.
We always get one in hand before one expires.
Yeah. So,
That's gonna create a lot of paperwork for your office.
well, I mean, that's,
We do it now anyway.
Yeah.
And
With
if they're
roads.
not gonna reissue, then they're gonna ask for the
We're gonna
letter
call
to
the
be
bond.
on the letter.
Call the
Yeah.
bond.
so,
Well, that'd
so
be-
the bank's gonna get whatever collateral they have with that company
Yeah.
at that time.
They not have to come into the bank, say 6 months before it expires to make to get it renewed, or they can't wait for the last day.
We just, with a letter of credit, we do it about 4 or 5 months ahead of time. So we've got one in hand before the other expires.
How's this piece of property gonna be viewed when it comes to the tax rate? I mean,
I have no
It-
idea.
I will tell you that, it'll be taxed as a utility, just like somebody putting a cell phone tower up on your property, it becomes taxed as a
I
utility.
mean, that's a Chris Crawford question. Yeah. Not,
Yeah.
we're trying to stay out of the tax. Huh?
It's
State
a,
of Tennessee says that code.
yeah, it's
Yes,
a,
it's stay agricultural, yeah.
they're
But
farming.
it's a substation. We treat it as a substation, which can be,
But he's not, but the property assessor is already aware of the leases that have been filed. So if they ever put it on the ground, that's,
Let's back up one step. Who decides what it's gonna cost to clean this mess up and how much?
an independent engineering firm.
Okay, well, that's gonna go up every year, just like everything else.
That's why we're going to require 125% on the front end.
and
And how often does that go up? I mean, let's say in 50 years it goes up 500%.
Depends on how long they want to get their letter of credit for. Let's just say if they get one 5 years, it'll be checked over every 5 years.
Be reviewed in 5 years and the cost goes up.
we do that with roads right now. The cost of pavement went through the roof a few years ago, and letters of credit were going up exponentially each time that same road was reevaluated, and a letter of credit posted. So those things are very common to our office. This is not anything that we're trying to reinvent the wheel. It's just on a larger scale.
I mean, basically, what we're talking about now is we're putting this in place. If somebody came in tomorrow and applied for one of these, we'd have to apply it basically under utility standards now. And someone mentioned that what was going on in Clarksville. Well, I mean, I'd rather have our utility standards than the provisions they have in Clarksville. They basically don't have any standards for
I think in Clarksville, they're holding them to buy the property. I don't think our people would want to sell their property. We got one guy that says, I'm not talking about a lease, if they want it, they're gonna buy it. So, but right now, it can stay agricultural. And in fact, talking about buffers, in some areas of the country, hand-picked crops are grown in the midst of these.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they graze sheep. I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to
That-
graze
that's-
goats up
That's,
there.
that's
because
very
they don't
common
compost.
up in.
But actually graze sheep in there.
And that's done to offset the drainage, because if they don't have some type of vegetation impervious surface, you could be talking about a massive, stormwater detention facility.
If, we represent one of the companies and, in some of their endeavors. If y'all want some fairly in-depth information on this, Jane Enfield, the liaison with us, back and forth between that, but Jane has got this in my daughter. She's got a lot of in-depth information, and, this was kind of a late thing for us. We didn't know what was going on until a couple of days ago. So we don't have much information together, but, she is subject to, whatever y'all, question you have. It's just a pretty in-depth information.
When this first, we first started doing this, like I said, you search Middle Tennessee, and there's not anybody's got anything. So I went to the American Planning Association and found out that they had done an exclusive paper on it. And they also had an online webinar, and basically found out, and from the webinar, you found out where people were doing these regulations, and it said a large majority of them came from the Midwest.
And that's the one that I'm representing. They're from the Midwest. I have nothing to do with the one in Cedar Hill Adams. I'm in the Cross Plains area.
Well, we're not even aware of that one.
Now you are, anyway.
And if it happens to be inside the city limits of Cross Plains, it's whatever Cross Plains. We don't represent Cross Plains.
Yeah.
What are the states that y'all in, associated with?
Well, I mean, we're here. I just happened to get a call and partner up. But the company I'm working with is out of Nebraska.
Nebraska?
But what I found, and when everything published on it, they kept referring back to different communities in the Minnesota area.
And again, we're not regulating if you want to put them on your roof of your house.
Yes.
That's your business.
Yeah.
And I will say, when they take them out of the solar field, they're still usable, but not for that magnitude in a solar field, a 200 watt field. You can sell them, and it can be for a residential application.
Yeah.
And they do take them off.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they still have like a 20-year lifespan for a residential situation.
Yeah.
But not the 200 watt field.
But the decommissioning plan was the one thing that stood out in all of the significant regulations that I found, was to have this decommissioning plan where they have to, when they can't just walk off and leave it, they have to
Mitigate it,
That's-
just as if
that's
dismantle.
for a landfill.
That's very important.
They have to dismantle.
And the landowners I've worked with, that's been one of the main questions. And again, they put up the bond. And they're gonna put the property back in the original state as best they can.
Yeah.
If they take out, 20 loads of topsoil, whatever, they're gonna bring in 20 new loads of topsoil. If they put in a road, they're gonna take out the road and they're gonna put it back to the original state as best they can. Well, I can speak for this one, I just know. And I may be able to show like a general blank copy of a lease agreement. I can ask if that's helpful.
This is just basically asking them to do the right thing, like what you're talking about. So we're just saying that some of those companies are not offering at all.
And this one for sure is.
Yeah, so nobody's saying you can't do it, we're just saying, hey, but sure, all of them have best practices. So,
Can we get back to the setback?
Yes, ma'am.
What difference does it make if it's 100 foot, 200 foot, 1,000 feet? What difference does that setback make?
Well, it gets it closer to your house.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, but, okay, the solar panels, are they noisy?
I mean, I know the
No.
wind turbines are,
No.
but we're not talking
No,
about.
we're not
Well,
talking about.
We're talking about the solar
we
panels.
included it, but
So
we're
it's not a
not.
noise issue.
It's not a noise issue.
It's an aesthetic.
It's
basically
just the way
aesthetics.
it looks.
It's
the
aesthetic.
aesthetics.
And then we'll run screen around it,
Yeah.
and, you know, best we can.
So,
Our standard.
so if we put it at 100 foot, it's not gonna hurt the people around them any more than it would if we put it at 200 or 300 feet. Is that what
No,
you're
that's
saying?
correct.
That's correct.
So what we have to do is just decide,
What the
setback
what the
is.
setback would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, if you had to look at the front door of one every day, how close would it be to you before you find it really kind of aggravating?
A look out.
Yeah.
You know?
That, you know, that's one of the reasons we're requiring the buffer strip around it where basically you do have a landscape buffer surrounding it.
So
And,
you don't look out and see it.
well, I mean,
Well,
it's gonna be
As much as
camouflage.
it can be through
Yeah.
vegetation,
Yeah,
shrubs
I
and
mean,
trees, yeah.
It wouldn't be hidden originally, but, you know,
Yeah.
over the
As
course,
it grows.
over the course of several growing seasons, you know, it will be significantly hidden.
Bob, you might want to tell them about the height of these things. They're not something in there, in there.
No,
They're 4
that's-
feet in the air.
Yeah.
4.5.
That's like it's about-
4.5.
it's
So
about-
we wouldn't
Yeah.
take much
Yeah.
vegetation.
At the height, at the apex of it, it's about like.
Yeah.
But I seen that last resolution that we looked at, on the county commission, 8-foot fences, that's gonna be, that was recommended part of.
Yeah, around the facility itself, yes.
So that's the
Yeah, and you don't wanna have a fence that all the kids can get over there and play on.
Jump up on them.
Yeah.
Are you guys able to show a video on your thing? I can show a video of 1,000 feet, 500 feet, and 150 feet with vegetation.
Well, like I said, 1,000 feet, I mean, I think that, Doug and I apologize, we didn't do our homework on that. We should have started, you know, doing this because 1,000 feet, I mean, when you take a 100-acre site and take the entire 100-acre site, then that's.
Little aggressive.
Three, so
So,
they can have 3 solar
Yes,
panels.
yes. And they'll probably supply one air conditioner in your house.
so.
But yeah, yeah, we do apologize
So
for that.
you can see basically what I prepared is that, you know, what it does to the site, you know.
So which of these are you recommending?
That's not for us to.
That's not
We're
for-
giving county commissioners all the ammunition to decide.
I think, I think.
It doesn't have to go through.
We just had to ask.
It's gonna come through this
It will
board,
come through this.
but they're wanting input.
Yeah.
They're wanting input right now. And because,
Are y'all wanting this, taking it to the
Well,
commission
somebody
in
has
May?
to come back to here in a new document to be recommended to the county commission. So
Gotcha. So it's not going to
It's not
county
going
commission in
to-
May?
And when we're looking at this, like the 100-foot setback, that also takes into consideration, even though there's a 100-foot setback, there's still gonna be, I mean, are they gonna wipe out all the trees in there? I mean,
No.
Is there still gonna be places where, you know, like, there's a sinkhole in the middle of my field, and so there won't be some there, and so
that's
it
cool.
won't be totally solid.
But they could knock the trees down if they want.
They're gonna get the trees.
Yeah, they'll get the trees.
whole purpose is-
They'll-
Not in the buffer.
Not in the buffer, but the trees inside the
Inside
the
perimeter
Are gone.
Yes, of their leaves.
But it won't all be just flat, smooth ground, and so there may be some of that area inside that won't be used. It's like this 100-foot setback, that's 77% of the site that's usable, but probably that's not gonna be that much usable when you look at.
Look at this.
You figure if that is that you're going, you know, you're still gonna have, you may have an acre or two stormwater detention facility there.
Having trees and all.
Yeah. So,
They're gonna fill in ponds and knock down, I mean, that's what's happening.
Right.
That's not.
yeah, but they're gonna be building ponds.
Sure.
And they're gonna be building ponds back.
But you can negotiate that. If you want this area to stay, they will let it stay. If you want this pond to stay, they're gonna let it stay.
Yeah.
If you wanna take out 5 acres in the middle of it because your granddaughter might wanna build a house, They will do all of
Yeah,
that.
and that's totally out of the purview of this office. That's
Yeah.
between the company and the
Yeah.
lease company.
And so the company that I have been working with, in the other areas that they have, solar farms, their setbacks are 150 feet from a residence and then 50 feet from the road. And that does not include any barn or farm structure. It's from the actual residence.
Yeah, from a residence or from a property line.
Residence.
We're talking property lines.
Yeah, we were talking, what we were looking at was something that these are figured at 100 foot at the property line, 200 foot at the property line, et
Because,
cetera.
because
We have a lot of houses very close to the property line.
Mr. Arch is gone, but any of the surveyors can survey property line. It's hard for you to specify from a residence to X, so.
Yeah.
And the companies themselves, when they come into this body with their site plan, will have that boundary survey.
Also show where there's a residence on it.
Yeah, well, if they present something, for
It has
this,
to be-
they'd have
it
to
has to
show
be
the
inclusive.
residences.
It has to be inclusive
Yeah.
to this body.
And-
Just as any other site plan would be, thorough. So I guess you county commissioners that are here, I think this board would like some feedback as to, and Bob and I would like to have some feedback,
Yeah.
so we can know what to draft to present to them.
Well, it looks like to me at 200 feet, you've got 60% usable, 300 feet, you got 40 total. All right, so that looks like that's either side of what you want. 250 feet, is what it looks like to me.
I was thinking the same thing, Jeff. 250 would be about right. That gets them.
What'd you say, Keith?
I said, I agree with what he said. I was thinking along the lines of 250 feet.
Of course, that would be, that would get it probably under 50% usable, 200 feet.
Be really close.
It's gonna be all over because you're 60% at 200, 44 at 300, so it's gonna be.
150 would be about what, a third off of that 77%, something like that.
Now, one of the things that I looked at was,
Yeah, it's gonna vary the design of the track.
Yeah.
I mean, you take a perfect rectangle versus this.
I mean,
It's gonna be big difference.
you might look at something like this. It is a lesser setback on vacant property and a larger setback from existing dwellings.
You need to leave that alone because the vacant property might not always be vacant.
Well, I mean, that would be up to, if somebody wants to build close to them, that would be up to them.
Yeah.
Well, but we would be.
That's after the fact it's in place. If you build close to a cell tower, that's on you. That's not something we can't prevent people from using their land because they want to.
Well, doesn't the property line thing really kind of keep it kind of uniform though?
That keeps it at a buck. It doesn't do anything.
That's my opinion, that it needs to stay at property line regardless of what the residents are. I mean, we've got to balance protecting the homeowners, the existing homeowners, to the point that we've got to be consistent in what we're doing, whether it's vacant property or not, because it may be vacant property right beside our house.
Doug, I think what she was talking about a while ago, these people may lease a certain part of this property. They may already have a residence on it. And I think that the 150 foot setback from the residence, and then you go with the property line and the rest of it, but I think 150 feet from the property, the residence.
Are you saying the residence that's on the property that they lease?
No, every resident.
The adjoining property.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go from property lines, I think we just need to leave it at the property lines, not be looking at any residence buildings or anything else on someone else's property. Make it stand.
Separated on cost.
So what I was talking about, the property owner that's doing the leasing from his residence.
You know, to me, it's just in the property line, if he's gonna lease it, that's on him.
That's between him and the company.
Yeah.
And he can put a stipulation in, not to build it close to his house.
Yeah, yeah,
If he leases his property and his house is sitting here, then obviously they can't encumber his driveway to get to his house. It's gotta be 50 feet off the road, so it may be around his house like this, but I said that's on him, that's the one that's leasing the property.
It's like Zane had said, if you want to pull a piece off and say, no, you can't use this.
Yeah.
That's her company, I don't know about the one that coming in Cedar Hill are trying to. You know, they should be on the same playing field.
Well, I mean,
Or the competition.
if any, like I say, we're talking Cedar Hill, Adams, and Oil Linda. Everything else is autonomous from this, from our regulations, because we can't control what goes on inside the city limits of Greenbrier, White House, Cross Plains, Millersville, Ridgetop.
Yeah.
Those are all autonomous from us
Yeah.
and are not involved in this regulation. This is only for the parts of the county that we have, this body has control. For example.
Well, one other thing that I came up with after this, when I got to really looking at who we know have signed leases that we are aware of, is that it appears that some of these are going to be multi-parcel sites. Is that they may lease from 3 separate property owners and combine them into one site. It'll be contiguous. So that appears like that's a very distinct possibility is.
So, let me intercept. They need 1,500 to 2,000 acres, contiguous acres ideally, to make this project work. So that's where that goes into the multi-parcels.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be that large of a.
Well,
So you're just saying, for example, you got 2 brothers backed up, that's gonna be continuous, not.
that's gonna be one site, that's gonna end up being one site. It is that you probably, if they develop a site across multiple parcels, is that setback won't apply there, because you're putting them, it's actually becoming one site.
What's gonna be the standard lease time of this, if you lease 100 acres?
What I understand is 25 years.
It's a 5-year option and 25-year lease.
5-year option. So,
And that's their due diligence period.
okay, the 2 brothers Jeff was talking about, if one of them that says after, 5 years, 25 years, I don't want you anymore, what's gonna happen to this other?
The 2 brothers in Cedar Hill both signed 40.
I'm sorry,
They both signed 40-year leases.
40-year lease, okay. So if their kids decide, one of them decides they want to keep it, the other one doesn't, does there need to be some
Well,
stipulations
the
here
lease-
about?
The leases carry over on, follow the property, they don't follow that particular person. So if you inherit the property with a lease on it, you inherit it.
But he's saying after the time,
when the lease
one
is
does,
up,
one doesn't.
when the lease is up.
When the lease is up,
From what I understand, after the company I represent, after 30 years, the panels for their project is not good, so they don't need the land anymore, so there's no renewing unless there's some kind of incentive to create a new project.
Yeah, the lifespan of the solar panels are around 30 years, and then they're completely,
But they can be replaced again for another 30 years, right?
possibly, usually at some point, the person I spoke with that installed it said that after about 20 or 30 years is completely unusable, and that, the operating, systems, the computer systems are good, and nothing else is.
But you could you
This
replace
is the
it?
next
Could you
meeting.
not
They
replace it?
started early.
If you wanna go
This what it's
through
turned
all of the.
Well, that's what it was supposed to,
From
be.
what-
Inclusion of this.
From
commission.
what
We
they
just said- we just said
experienced,
the
there's
county,
not
we said
the
it's
need
inclusion
to
of the
go
county
and
commission.
replace the
Planning
panels.
commission.
And
That's not the way it was
start
advertised. It was advertised at 8 to us.
So just
Is
put it
what she's
somewhere.
saying.
That's why Bob
It's-
wrote in late.
It's
You,
just,
you clean it
it's
out,
not worth the money.
you put it back to its original state, they can sell them, they can go on a residence or whatever, or you
They,
scrap
can they talk?
But I mean, these
But
people.
they can't, they're not even here.
got
Tell them to get in.
selling, you would think that they would want to continue.
There's, don't stop taking these things,
Well,
and they're not recyclable.
commissioners that this meeting
So
will
if they
start at
leave
8.
them there,
You know, we got our meeting right
Okay,
into the.
because they're not
So we
recyclable.
got commissioners
Can't go
that
to
involved.
they're gonna have to go to a hazmat.
they are recyclable.
They
They
are,
do have,
yeah, so it was
Materials in them
advertised.
now that they can take them and recycle.
parts of them,
Parts of it.
not all.
They don't have to take them up to North Dakota River and bury them
Can we
where
end
some
this
of the
one?
older
We'll
ones.
go ahead and let them.
It's an outline, all right.
Bring 'em in, bring 'em in.
Question.
So just end.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You county commissioners join us on Zoom. We've got an array of setback options. And if any of you want to come by the office and pick them up, we'll be glad to we've given them to the county commissioners in attendance here tonight. So any of you that have the desire to see these, please give us a call. And all you out there joining us electronically, if you have any questions, we'll be glad to entertain those. What we've done is given an array of the existing 1,000-foot setback and then 500, 300, 200, and 100, I think. And what we found that at 1,000 feet, what we brought to the county commission last month, a 100-acre site was rendered totally useless. So we apologize for being overly aggressive on our setback. Have any questions? I will certainly try to answer your questions.
Doug, you might want to tell me what the difference, like 100-foot setback, that type of thing.
Yeah, for expedience sake, we've got the existing, what you tabled last month at 1,000 feet, which rendered this 59.20 acre site totally useless. Then we went to 100, which gave you 77% of the site usable. A 300-foot setback gives you 44% usable. A 100-foot setback, which is the same setback we would have currently that we have in our regulations for a landfill, gives you 77% of the site usable. Any questions?
Are they hearing us, Chet?
I'm hearing it. I just want to add that I think 100-foot setback is, for the videos that I've seen, the research I've done is quite ample for the noise and then what it does and what it doesn't do.
Okay. Anyone else have any input? Mr. Doris can't hear us.
He
You
said,
can't hear us?
Yeah.
He can,
He can't hear us.
he can. He gave you thumbs up.
they give you thumbs up.
Okay. Any thoughts?
So you are gonna bring a plan back next month.
Yeah, soon as we get some recommendations, yeah. I mean, if we had offer you a proposal tonight, we'd probably say the 1 to 200 or something in between.
We're gonna put a buffer around it, I mean.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Setback doesn't
Vegetative
seem to be
buffer.
that big a deal.
Around the site, not on the property line, but around the site.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like to me if we had a larger setback, then the people putting it in are gonna have to lease more land. Because it's gonna
That's
take
exact-
up a
that's
lot of
exactly
their
right.
space. And that just means it's gonna be spread out for them.
Exactly.
I'm going with the 100, 150 foot.
Well, you got a lot of folks that don't want them here at all.
Well, I mean, that's,
We can't regulate them out.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, Robertson County tried that about 25 years ago to outlaw solid waste landfills. Found out through the court system that wasn't legal.
You know what I think too, if you think about, because it's not, how many feet off the setbacks off the property line, it's really gonna come into play off the initial property line, because they get, you know, 3 farms joined together or whatever.
If it's continuous, then they're not losing.
Yeah, it's only gonna be the radius of the site, so,
Yeah.
you know, so I'd really like to see it be more than 100 or 200, you know, for the sake of being out, you know, in our neck of the woods.
Yeah, but I mean, I think.
All contiguous, the ones that we're talking about, it's all together. That's all.
Richard Road cut it, and Montana cut it, and Kenny Road will cut it, right? Glover Road. I mean, they'll have to fall back off.
Yeah, they have to go back, they can't encroach upon the setbacks for the rights of way for the road.
Yeah.
And it's,
So that's a given. Yeah, they start there. And so if they do put the retracts together, it's still, the people that it's putting together, they've agreed to allow it on their property. So we're protecting the people that are not part of the lease.
that was our intent, yeah.
Yeah, we're not worried about the people leasing. They can protect themselves.
I like Commissioner Ayers' line of thinking. I think 250 is a nice happy medium.
That's not to the extreme either way. You know, we gotta get somewhere in the middle.
Exactly.
And keep as many people as you can have. If you got 3 people together, 2 of them gonna be mad. You know, this way, maybe you can keep the majority either side.
And Morris County, I have looked, including Wallace's farm, this all.
So are we in agreement that if we redraft this document and use a 250-foot setback from property line, is that what I'm hearing, the consensus of the commissioners that are here?
No, you can't ask that question, because that's asking for a vote.
No, I said that's
This is just a
consensus.
workshop.
That's right. But we've got to have some guidelines for you guys before we can draft the document.
Yeah.
That's what this workshop is all about.
Or you get,
You're crossing some fences.
No,
Okay.
no.
One of the things that he did, you missed, that you were, we were discussing, when he was on that, we were discussing how to guarantee them enough money to demo these things, put the land back to as close as possible, original as possible. And I think y'all talked about a letter of credit up there means that you're.
125% of the cost of the initial project will be held in a letter of credit, surety bond, whatever terminology you're comfortable with, held by this office to ensure that when the lifespan of these things is depleted, they can't just walk away. We've got the money to put the land back to as close as we can to original standard.
Bob Bird, what kind of numbers do y'all want to see? What do you think, Teresa?
Me?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'd like to see, as far as setback,
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the 250. I don't know about median, half a median. That should be a general sense of consensus of what's out there. I think 1,000 feet is going to get a little crazy out there. And 100
We
apologize.
We did
for
a
that.
hypothetical, well, we didn't do a hypothetical. We did an actual 100-foot site, 100-acre site, and this particular 100-acre site, it took the entire site.
1,000.
$1,000 off the table.
Yeah. Well, we have to talk about all the extremes, and we eliminated one of them anyway, but I'm kind of at the consensus of the group. It gives us something to start. Doesn't mean that we can't change it in the future, right? We're a body of it.
Well, you can't change it once the project goes in play. And
On
we-
that
we-
particular project,
we
we have
can't-
to do the
and we-
projects out
and we-
there. We
and
can
we-
change
And we
them.
codify the footage, so I don't think you can change after that.
I don't think, I don't think.
Of this particular, but sometimes in the future, we have the right to change.
Yeah, you do.
For anything new coming in.
After that.
Yeah, after that's coming
If you need to
through.
adjust, is what you're saying.
So if we mess up some farm or somebody, they're upset with us. We can. Somebody's gonna get upset.
Yes.
Well, that's okay. That's our job. It's the kind of situation now.
You got 3 people gonna be mad?
I don't see a problem with 250 feet. That's a pretty good size. This.
I do. I see a problem with that. I think we're hindering green energy. I think the good compromise would be 150 to 200, but 250 I think is too much. I think we're hindering renewable green energy.
You do understand that the community doesn't get this money. It's a company. A company is for profit only for its shareholders. Community doesn't get this energy. The people don't get this energy. Nobody makes money off of this except the people that are leasing it.
They do pay, but they do pay them in lieu of taxes for utility. Just like a cell tower does. Or any other private utility.
We're not saying that it can't come in. Look, okay, it's your land. We're just putting stipulations to protect everyone. That's it.
And I guess the question is how much do we want to protect?
Exactly. That's the gist of what this regulation is to do.
Yeah, let me ask you, Doug, if you go and recommend 250 feet, and of course, there's not enough of them here tonight to vote it up or down, but you know, could that be changed? Somebody come up there and said, hey, let's make it 500 feet, or let's make it 100 feet.
I mean, oh yeah, you can amend it.
The amendment, or your.
You can amend it.
Amend
On the floor, yes, you can amend it.
And get a discussion out of 24 feet.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, we've got, how many? We've probably got a half the commission represented here, either physically or electronically.
I think that has to be done on the commission floor. though.
Oh, yeah, I
Yes,
know,
yes.
no, but it has to come from here first.
Yeah.
It has to come from.
And then with a footage setback coming out of this body to them, that can be amended at the floor.
Yeah.
Bert, do you have anything?
Well, they can send it back again.
Or they can send it back.
They send it back.
Go back here.
Well, I think what Doug
This
and I
needs-
we
needs to be
would
worked
like
on.
from all of you and all of you here electronically, and is to call and tell us what you think, and we may come back with, with what we feel like,
A compromise.
a compromise on it.
And then at the floor of the county commission, yes, that footage can be up or down.
Yeah.
But didn't, at our last commissioners meeting, didn't we have some objection because there wasn't enough research done?
Was that?
Wait a minute, in that structure, and we were a little bit skeptical and trying to go into something and be the guinea pig.
Well, I understand that, but it was brought it was said from the floor, have you looked at CTAS? Have you asked them? CTAS does not have a planning
I know,
organization.
I understand.
So, yes, no one in the Middle Tennessee area.
We're out in front of this. Now, I can't speak for every other county, what's going on in other counties, but we're out in front of this. I talked to the people at GNRC, who represent the communities in Middle Tennessee that do not have planning staffs, and they're not working on anything for anybody.
It
So,
was in the paper about Montgomery County.
Yeah.
These companies are buying the land in Montgomery County.
and if you look,
They're purchasing the land, they're not leasing it.
if you look at the regulations in Montgomery County, 100 foot's excessive to them.
Most of theirs is gonna be in an industrial area
Yeah.
to begin with.
Yeah. There is a solar farm in Davidson County, but it's owned by the National Electric Service. Yeah. That's, and that may be the way the future is, that they, whether they are owned by TVA or whether you get some of the local utilities like Cumberland Electric establishing their own.
Young lady over there, and maybe I misunderstood her, said the power would not be used by anybody in this area.
I'm saying, we don't get free power. We don't
No,
get anything. They are selling.
Absolutely, I mean, that's the purpose of the business, but it possibly, if
NES has got one,
Yeah.
and I doubt if Springfield would have one or whatever,
Well,
or maybe Common Electric.
These
somebody
would,
be
these would have to
in
be
that
tied into an electric.
They
Yeah.
probably sell it to Common Electric.
Yeah, there would be a substation there where it would be put on the, put on the
it goes on the
grid.
grid.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Which-
becomes part of the grid.
Which is separate from what on your roof would do for
Yeah.
you,
It would
Yeah.
do for you.
Yeah.
Paul made a statement a few minutes ago that the 100 feet down in Montgomery County,
It'd be excessive.
and why, is that, and
It's
has
10
he
feet.
said that to anybody else?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he just brought it up.
We had somebody brought us that Montgomery County was doing this. Checked the regulations in Montgomery County. Their setback is 10 feet.
See, I didn't know that statement, and I'm sitting here
And that, yeah,
arguing
but
my
they're
friend
doing
back
all that
here.
industrial property.
Yeah.
But we're talking about 250, and Bobby's got in his mind, we may want to have to go to 100. We need to know
But
those.
that's why I did it.
Industrial and, you know, rules of
Agricultural.
Yeah.
I mean, these are homes, I'm not just one home or two homes, I'm talking dozens upon dozens upon dozens of homes. Not like some open industrial area that has no homes and children.
Yeah.
So that's what we're,
So that's what he's talking about, 100 feet.
He's talking about in Montgomery County, 10 feet, because
It's an industrial park.
it's in an industrial park. It's an
there's
industrial-
not families and kids or, you know.
Well, we may need to have two sets of setbacks, we may need to have a setback.
I think that's a
For
pretty much statement.
industrial and.
Well, I mean, we don't have any industrial property out there to speak of that's gonna be in any volume. We've got small industrial property. We're not gonna get into rezoning.
And you can't do it in the city of Springfield because we don't have any control.
Exactly.
Why not say solar, but there
If
is.
it changed, that would just be an amendment later on, that y'all would have to do, right?
To,
If something changed to industrial,
well,
what he's saying.
yeah, I mean, practicality says we're not gonna be rezoning industrial property out in these rural areas of the county anyway.
Not anything significant.
It's not in the growth plan.
No, we
But
got,
they can only target certain substations because they're only upgraded to withstand
Exactly,
the solar to join the grid.
exactly.
So these ones that they're looking at are the only ones that have been upgraded to withstand all of this.
which is probably why they're looking at the Adams area, because they recently upgraded that substation in Adams.
That one, Logan County, and then the one that I mentioned. Those are the three that are on target because they've been upgraded and they can handle the extra power.
Well, that tends to make me believe that as we move forward, they're going to update other ones, and this thing's going to snowball. They're going to keep on coming. and
But it's
coming. Is
millions
that
of
right?
dollars
Am I looking
to
at that right?
upgrade them.
They get
Well,
another,
it's a-
they get
it's a-
another updated,
But it is, I mean, it's a
upgraded.
tremendous capital investment
Yeah.
that these companies are gonna be making. So they're not gonna be, I mean, they're, practicality says they're looking at larger open areas.
Yeah.
They're not gonna be in areas that are encumbered by adjoining forest, heavily canopy tree cover. They can't do that. It's not, it's
And they're
a
not
shade
gonna-
tax site, it's not a good site.
Yeah, but Coca-Cola was just a medicine at one time, and look at me. They can
Yeah, but they're not
expand
gonna, they're not gonna come on my, if you lease your property, they're not gonna come on my property and cut my tree.
Well, Montgomery County bought theirs, right?
Montgomery County bought
Now, they buy it just to say, hey, I'm in the business here, and they're now having to lease, or is
Oh,
that
no,
the trouble?
they're purchasing the land in the industrial complex that.
Well, that's not what we're talking about here, right?
No, we're talking about.
It's a lease deal.
This is, we're not talking about any purchasing or anything like that, and no rezoning.
No reason, it's just gonna stay AG two, whatever.
Yes.
Yes, no rezoning.
It's no-
It's
it's
not
no-
going to
The
special
tax rate's not
exception.
gonna change.
That's not gonna change.
Well, it will be for the amount leased, because it's taxed as a utility
Yeah, but
rather
it
than
won't,
as.
no. That has nothing to do with zoning.
No, it has
Nothing to do with zoning. How they tax it is totally out of our control.
Okay.
And zoning don't change on a piece of property till the use changes.
Right.
You can zone all the property you want to, but until the use actually changes, the property assessment is gonna change.
Don't think it'll change.
The properties, the zone,
The state say that it's considered agriculture. I mean, I.
yes, it can, it's a special exception to be an agricultural zoning, yes, you're right.
Utilities are zoned on, industrial rate, correct? 40%?
I have no idea. Tax on that rate?
That's.
This office has nothing to do with zoning.
No.
We don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, with taxation.
We
Talk about zoning.
approve a site for a cell tower, we approve the site. That's recorded, and you can see those all over the property tax map. It is, but they get taxed differently.
That question was out of place. Refresh.
Yeah. They're not taxed like your house.
Food for thought. Think about it. After the fact, contact us with your thoughts. If you have anything different than what we're talking about tonight, and we'll bring the document back to this body for approval or recommendation. We'll come back to county commission.
Well, thank y'all for doing it, President. Appreciate it. Yeah.
I'd like for you to check with, Clyde Richard about, what kind of language about, whether it be a bond or letter of credit or.
The surety instrument, yeah.
So, yeah, whatever surety instrument it is.
He would, that way everybody would know what the language is gonna be when it gets to the county commission.
We also want to make sure that as far as the surety, if it is a letter of credit, we want to make sure it's with a bank that we can actually drive to, that we don't have to get on an airplane and fly there.
Well, explain a little more what you told me about it when you said that.
Well, basically, previously, we've had subdivisions developed in the county, and one got close to being called, and of course, we're gonna go back several years, and Miss Martha was scared that she was gonna have to go to St. Louis in order to call this bond.
Oh, that's what the bond provided.
Yeah, because that was where
That's where the lending institution
yeah,
was.
what the lending institution was, and they did not. So now, as far as our planning commission is that they have to have a physical office within 50 miles of Springfield, Tennessee.
And that verbiage is in there.
Yes.
In our subregion.
Yes, our subdivision.
You're gonna take a big thing. That letter of credit too.
It's a $200 million project.
Oh, no, it's not $1 million.
It's a $200 million project.
Yeah.
Conglomerate.
One time I
Do we need a motion to adjourn, because I'm gone? Do we need a motion to adjourn, because I'm gone?
Yeah, I need to get out of here.
I said, do we need a motion to adjourn, because I'm gone, I gotta leave.
Electronic.
Second,
Hello?
he made a motion to adjourn, I'll second it.
I move we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
I have a motion to adjourn, I have a second. All in favor, let me know by saying aye. All opposed, motion carries. Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.